President, I think most Americans understand the causation of the deficit crisis. And that is President Bush went to war in Iraq and he went to war in Afghanistan. And you know, he just forgot something. We all have memory lapses, don't we? Go shopping and we forget to buy the milk or the bread. He had a memory lapse. He forgot to pay for them. A couple of $1 trillion, and he forgot to pay for them. And all of our deficit hawks out here, all of those folks who say, got to cut food stamps, you got to cut education, you got to cut health care. Oh, 2 wars, $2, $3, $4 trillion. Hey, no problem at all. And for the first time, as I understand it, in the history of this country, we went to war, which is an expensive proposition, and at the same time, not only did we not raise the money to pay for the war, we went the other way. We decided to give huge tax breaks, including to the wealthiest people in this country. You spend trillions going to war, you give tax breaks to the wealthiest people in this country, well, that begins to add up. That's called creating a deficit. And then on top of that, because of the greed and the recklessness and illegal behavior on Wall Street, which drove us into this recession, when you're in a recession and people are unemployed and small businesses go under, less revenue is coming into the federal treasury. If you're spending a whole lot, less revenue is coming in, you have a deficit crisis. Now, some of my Republican friends, and some Democrats, I should say, they say, well, maybe we should have paid for the war. Yeah, you're right. Maybe we shouldn't have given those tax breaks to the rich. Yeah, maybe you're right. But be that as it may, we are where we are, and we need deficit reduction, and we know how to do it. We're going to cut Social Security. And my friends back home, when you hear folks talking about Social Security reform, hold on to your wallets, because they are talking about cuts in Social Security. Nothing more, nothing less. They're talking about something, I don't know about Minnesota, Mr. President. In Vermont, nobody has heard of the concept called chained CPI. Every place I go, I ask them. People don't know. What chained CPI, which is what they're trying to pass here, is the idea, and I know senior citizens back home are going to start laughing when I say this. It is the belief that COLAs for Social Security are too high. And seniors back home are scratching their heads, saying, wait, we just went through 2 years when my prescription drug cost went up, my health care costs went up, and I got 0 in COLA, and there are people in Washington, Republicans, some Democrats, they think I got too much in COLA. What world are these people living in? And that's the reality. So some of the folks here want to pass something called a chained CPI, which, if it were imposed, and I will do everything I can to see that it does not get imposed, what it would mean is between the ages of 65 and 75, you would lose about $550 a year. And then when you are 85 and you're trying to get by on $13,000 or $14,000 a year, it would cost you about $1,000 a year. That's what some of our colleagues want to do. Virtually all the Republicans want to do it. Some Democrats want to do it as well. I'm going to do, as chairman of the Defending Social Security Caucus, everything that I can to prevent that. Now, they also want to cut Medicare, and they want to cut Medicaid. Well, we got 50 million people without any health insurance at all. We got people paying huge deductibles, Medicaid covering nursing home care. They want to cut Medicare and Medicaid. They have the brilliant idea, some of them, that maybe we should raise the retirement age for Medicare from 65 to 67. Mr. President, tell me about somebody in Minnesota who's 66 and is diagnosed with cancer. And if we do what the Republicans want us to do in the House, which is to create a voucher plan for Medicare, we give that person a check for, I don't know, $7,000, I think, or $8,000, and we say, you can go out to the private insurance company, anyone you want. Here's your $7,000 or $8,000. You're suffering with cancer. Go get your insurance. And I guess that would last you maybe 1 day or 2 days in the hospital. That's what it would do. That's the Republican plan. So, Mr. President, I agree that deficit reduction is a real issue. And I think we have got to deal with it. But we are not, if I have anything to say about it, going to deal with it on the backs of the elderly, the children, the sick, the poor, and the hungry. The way you deal with deficit reduction in a responsible way, in a fair way, is you say to the billionaires in this country who are doing phenomenally well, you make the point that Warren Buffett made, that there's something a little bit absurd that millionaires and billionaires today, in the midst of the deficit crisis, are paying the lowest tax rates that they have paid in decades. So yes, we're going to have to ask the wealthiest people in this country to start paying their fair share of taxes. I saw a piece in the paper the other day. It was quite incredible. The rich people apparently leaving America. They're giving up their citizenship. They're going abroad. These great lovers of America who made their money in this country, when you ask them to start paying their fair share of taxes, they're running abroad. We have 19-year-old kids in this country who died in Iraq and Afghanistan defending this country. They went abroad not to escape taxes. They're working-class kids who died in wars, and now the billionaires want to run abroad in order to avoid paying their fair share of taxes. What patriotism? What love of country? So, Mr. President, yeah, we got to deal with deficit reduction. But you don't cut Social Security, you don't cut Medicare, you don't cut Medicaid, you don't cut education. You ask the wealthiest people, the millionaires and billionaires, to start paying their fair share of taxes. You end these outrageous corporate loopholes. Senator Conrad showed a picture of a building in the Cayman Islands where there are 18,000 corporations. They're there in the Cayman Islands using a postal address in order to avoid paying their taxes. We're losing about $100 billion a year. You got large corporations making billions, paying in some cases nothing in taxes. That's the way you go to deficit reduction, not on the backs of people who are already hurting. So, Mr. President, we are in a very difficult moment in American history. We're in the process of losing the great middle class. We're seeing more of our people being poor. We're seeing savage attacks being waged against the elderly in terms of cuts in Social Security and Medicare, attacks against those who get sick in terms of going after Medicaid and Medicare. And I think what the American people are saying is enough is enough. This country, this great country, belongs to all of us. It cannot continue to be controlled by a handful of billionaires who apparently want it all. You know, for the love of me, I cannot understand why people who have billions of dollars are compulsively driven for more and more and more. When is enough enough? How many children in this country have got to go hungry? How many people have got to die because they don't go to a doctor because you want to avoid paying your taxes? Well, that's not what America is about. That's not what people fought and died to create. So, Mr. President, with that, we've got a fight on our hands. The job of the United States Senate is to represent the middle class, working families of this country, all of the people, and not just the super rich. And I hope we can begin to do that. Thank you very much. With that, I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.